At last year's Mountain Bike World Championship, Orbea unveiled a prototype of the new Alma with a concealed section near the bottom bracket. The hype was instant. What could that be? A new shock absorber? A new soft tail? Today, all doubts are cleared as I present the new Alma and the X-Fader. Let's dive into a comprehensive review. We've mentioned in the last videos that unfortunately hardtails have lost popularity in recent years. There are many brands that have even decided to remove the top-of-the-line hardtail bike models from their catalogs to focus on an emerging category such as gravel or on another that is already well established, like full suspension cross-country. However, Orbea continues to bet on hardtails. Of course, to achieve this new spirit, they had to overcome major challenges, obstacles, and also make a concession. In this video, we're going to go over all these points, find out what that concession was that they had to make and all the challenges they've had to face. Now let's look at the evolution and innovation that Orbea had to undertake to launch this model to the market. Evolution, the logic of these days. In terms of geometry and travel, we have a head angle that's 1 degree slacker compared to the previous model, a slightly longer reach, and a more stretched stack. The suspension has been extended to 110 mm of travel and can easily accommodate a 120 mm fork. Obviously, that's going to tweak the geometry a bit, but ultimately these 110. From what I've been able to test, this bike handles it very well. Well, the truth is that the bike feels pretty good. Overall, I really like the choice of components it has. Having 240 on a hardtail, which is a lot. Let's say it hides some of the weaknesses that these bikes have. Well, that was a crank hit. That was a crank hit. For now, the feeling is very nimble, very tight. It likes to move with agility. Well, pure cross country. I enjoy that bikes like this keep being made. Maybe. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Maybe the brakes. These Shimano brakes, likely the 6100s, work well, but some XT brakes would be even better. In sync with the set of components the bike has, which are top-notch for this range. But don't they fall a bit behind? Innovation in this model, obviously it's linked to the appearance of the X-Fader. What do you think? And why did Orbea create this shape here in this specific area of the frame? Well, it's a bit of a long story, but I'll explain it to you. As you know, until very recently, most hardtail bike frames came with seat tubes capable of fitting seat posts with a diameter of 27.2 millimeters. Since it's such a narrow diameter, it allowed this area of the bike right here to have quite a bit of flex, and therefore it absorbed the bumps in the terrain better and didn't tire the biker's back as much. What happened? That dropper seat posts have also become standard on hardtails, and it's hard to find dropper seat post options in 27.2 millimeters. So the natural step is to build hardtail bike frames with diameters of at least 31.6 millimeters. To be able to accommodate many dropper seat post options, what happens? That by increasing the diameter of the tube, that flex is largely lost, and Orbea's response to this has been okay. We'll move to 31.6 while maintaining that flexibility. Not giving it at the top end of the seat tube, but giving it at the bottom end. And that's where this new X-Fader comes in, with that functionality of absorbing the irregularities of the terrain as much as possible from all the impacts it receives. The rear axle, so as not to tire out the biker as much, requires no maintenance, has great functionality, and on the other hand, gives the bike a distinctive aesthetic touch compared to other models from other brands. Does it feel like something? This bike is incredibly stiff, like a solid block. The front triangle with the rear one, and it helps. It really helps you steer it wherever you want. The 110 of suspension, I think it suits it perfectly. Not more, not less. In this modern era, I think we're perfect with this distance in this travel. It's awesome. I'm loving it, these first impressions. I'm really loving them. But that wasn't all, because the addition of the X-Fader brought a new challenge for the engineers at Orbea, which was, what do we do with the mounts for the second bottle cage? Because, as you know, on a bike with a traditional design, the mounts for the second bottle cage are lower down and don't interfere with the insertion of the seat post. Look at what the engineers at Orbea had to do. They had to create this protrusion so that the mounts are not only higher up, because otherwise it's impossible to do it with the X-Fader. Here, the mounts are, let's say, facing outward. They're completely outside of what would be the path of the seat post insertion into the seat tube. I intentionally left the bottle cage off so you can see it clearly. But this way you can install a second bottle cage without any problems. And if for whatever reason you don't want to install it, these little plastic caps make it look neat. More details about the frame. The internal wiring enters from the side, visible due to the new OC cockpit featured in the brand's 3 highest-end models. Of course, the rest of the wiring is completely hidden. Inside the frame, we also have a handlebar lock to prevent damaging the frame in case of a fall, impact, or anything like that. The bottom bracket is threaded, and we can use a single chainring with up to 38 teeth. The frame, of course, comes ready for the new T-type or the universal derailleur hanger, whichever you prefer. We also have tire clearance that allows, of course, for 2.40 tires, which is super generous, and a post-mount rear brake caliper. And a very interesting, curious detail is this little opening you see here, which opens easily and gives us access to all the internal wiring. It makes it much easier for us to handle it inside the frame in an area that's more or less complicated, like the bottom bracket. The bike sprinting uphill is a delight. It's pure dynamite. I think it's not just because of the frame, but especially because of the wheels. These O-quad wheels have a construction, both types of carbon, with straight spokes. Spoke heads in a T-shape, and the hub is designed to anchor them. The spokes come out diagonally from the rim, and it makes the bike so the rear wheel transmits all that energy coming from your legs. Cool, cool. Super reactive upwards, super climber. Now we have it clear, Orbea has released an innovative, evolved product, but today that's not enough. You need it to be, commercially speaking, very attractive so it doesn't get lost in the catalog. Between gravel and full suspension bikes, what does Orbea do to make this product really attractive? Well, to begin with, they've eliminated the 2 types of carbon in their ranges, like OMR and OMX. Not easy at all, just one frame, a single type of carbon in all their models across the entire range. This has a significant advantage for the consumer. Why? Well, basically because you can buy a product from a lower range. Let's take the example of the entry-level range that Orbea offers with this Alma, which is 2,000 euros. You can buy that bike and gradually upgrade its components with small investments over time, until you have a bike as high-end as your budget allows, without making a big upfront payment for a high-end model. And on the other hand, without being limited over time by the type of carbon the frame has when you first buy it. But at the same time, that has a small downside that has to do precisely with that concession I mentioned at the beginning of the video that Orbea had to make compared to the previous model. And that's because the weight of this frame in size M of this new model is 1,080 grams. Which, mind you, is a very good weight for a hardtail frame, but it's not as competitive as the OMX. the highest end carbon one that the previous model had, which weighed just 830 grams. To make the product even more attractive, Orbea offers up to 6 different models, starting with the M50 with a retail price of 2,000 euros and reaching the zenith. The top-of-the-line M Limited comes with the best components available on the market. The Ram XXSL drivetrains, the highest-end OQU wheels, the MP30 Limited Venta Limited, are the lightest, the stiffest, and above all, with a standard weight of 8 kilos, 590 grams. As you can see, where other brands decide to eliminate the top-of-the-range hardtails because they believe they can no longer market them, Orbea continues to keep them. So this step, we're going to name Orbea as the resistance of high-end hardtail bikes. It's important that I don't forget. There's also the option to customize the bike's colors with Orbea's Mayo system, at least in the top 3 models within Alma. Let's review the components of this model I'm testing. The M Pro, which I believe has bestseller potential. For 4,000 euros, seriously? Check out the material it comes with. To start with, RockShox Seat Select with 110 millimeters of travel. As for the fork, we can always lock it remotely thanks to this new OC Squid Lock control, which also lets us control the dropper post. We have the new OC Carbon Cockpit, which for me is an incredible piece to ride with. A stock bike, lightweight with incredible integration. It will be present on the top 3 high-end models of the ALMA. The brakes are Shimano 6100 2-piston brakes. It's possible on Orbea's website to upgrade to XT brakes by paying a little extra. Transmission. We have a SRAM GXT type with a 1052 cassette and a single 32-tooth chainring. For the tires, we have some highly proven Pirelli Scorpion Cross Country RCs, the model. The fastest rolling wheels in the range, both front and rear, are 240s. It's intriguing because I want to show you something. I'm using Project Management Professional 30 team. On this bike, which would be the second carbon range within Oquo, the brand of wheels from the company itself, Orbea. But it must be said that this would already be an improvement, let's say, within what would be the standard model of this bike. Because normally for 4,000 euros, what it would include would be aluminum wheels from the Oquo brand itself. The saddle is a Prologonago. And we also have the OC telescopic seat post with 100 millimeters of travel, which would also be another upgrade that has already been made. Because normally, as standard, this bike comes with a traditional carbon seat post, which is not telescopic. It's a bike that gives you great confidence when riding downhill. The balance that the engineers at Orbea have found is really good, because when you're climbing you have a reactive machine, but when you're going downhill, the faster you go, the more stable it feels. This progressive geometry, here it goes. The truth is they've really nailed it. And at the same time it's not clumsy at all, not clumsy when weaving, so I don't know. Super balanced bike, super. Nothing to criticize about the geometry, very well thought out in terms of pros and cons. Let's start with the things that maybe didn't quite work for me, starting with the weight. If we compare this new Alma with the top-of-the-line OMX frame from the previous model, well, as we've already said, this new frame has gained a little weight. On the other hand, this is a bit subjective, but all the dropper posts that come standard with this Alma have 100 millimeters of travel. For body types like mine, with shorter limbs compared to our torso, that's not much. Honestly, it's really nice to have the option of 125 or even 150 millimeters of travel for the seat posts. And on the other hand, speaking about this specific model, I would say the brakes. I feel like they're way below the overall build quality of the bike. There's the possibility with the customizer on Orbea's website to upgrade to Shimano XT brakes. However, it will always depend on incurring an additional cost. On the other hand, all the good things, the most notable one without a doubt is the handling. I've had a great time. It's been really fun to ride this bike. It's really well balanced in that sense. Second thing, the aesthetics. I think overall it's a really well-made bike, and not only is it beautiful, but it also stands out visually. The third thing I'd like to highlight is the components. The truth is that Orbea is doing an amazing job with OC and OQUO, because honestly, for example, the cockpit is a real work of art for something that comes standard on a bike and has to meet certain guarantees and so on. We're talking about just 265 grams of weight. It fits right above the stem, very well integrated. The side cable entry is a product that's very well made, and the dropper posts work very well. The new squid lock is amazing. And the wheels, OQO, honestly, I've been able to try both these MP30 Team and the higher end ones like the Limited, and they are super sturdy wheels. I want to believe they're going to have very few after sales issues in the future, but they're also super responsive. So the set of components that Orbea uses aren't just for show. They really add substance and improve the overall package. They enhance all the virtues that the frame already has. And finally, of course, the possibility of continuing to have a top-of-the-line hardtail bike model in the Orbea catalog. Now it's time for you to leave your opinion in the comments section. What do you think of this bike? From 1 to 10? Let's see what score you give it. On the other hand, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. This way you help me grow the project, and I hope you're very happy. See you next time. Bye.